We just moved. And because we just moved, I have an entirely new garage to organize. Now I saw these DIY bike stands on the Enduro Build Instagram page, and I thought this was a great idea. Because of the casters, the concept is that you can easily move the bike around the garage without having to kind of wiggle this, wiggle that, move this, and pick it up like I'm Scott Summers. I'm not Scott Summers. We're gonna build these bad boys, see how it goes. I'm gonna learn a few things. I'm also gonna ask for some help from you guys because I did make a few mistakes. But other than that, I'm glad that I did it. I learned a few things. I hope you learned a few things. Let's get into building these bad boys. Before we get started making our own wood version that has the casters on the bottom, I'm gonna measure this guy to see roundabout how wide it is at the bottom, how wide it is at the top, and then how tall it is, and then adjust my measurements for the wood, for the casters, and see if I can figure out how these angles are gonna work out. Measurements are done, so it's 16 inches tall, it's about 10 by 10 top, and about a 14 by 14 bottom. With the casters being 3.5 inches tall, we know we're gonna have to take away from the overall height. But then also we have to remember to take away the width of the wood. So the wood that we're gonna be using is 3/4 of an inch thick. In reality though, it's 23 by 32 because we're living that imperial life, whatever. We have to remember to take that away. So if we were to do that, 23 divided by 32, right, is that 0.7 and some change, times that by 2 because we're gonna have a top and a bottom. So we're gonna get 1.4735, which is 1 7/16. So we have to take that away from our 16-inch height, our 3.5-inch casters, and then our 1.4375, which gives us a space between the top of our bottom and the bottom of our top of 11.0625, which is 11/116. So now that we have that number, that is gonna be one leg of our triangle. The other leg of our triangle is the difference between the 10 and the 14. So now we know the leg of our other triangle is 2 inches. So then what we're gonna do, we're gonna go to the computer, go to a right angle calculator and figure out what our leg length needs to be, and then of course too, what angle we need to cut. That's a lot of math. Let's go figure this out. Hypotenuse. That's what we're trying to calculate. So we've got the length of 2 of our legs and we're trying to figure out the hypotenuse of our triangle, and then we'll be able to see the angles. Now we've got the length of our hypotenuse and we've got the angles of the other sides of our triangles. Now we can take that 80 degrees, flip it, and we will have our 10-degree cut. So now you can see I'm drawing from the triangle we have the opposite, which is going to be what we are building, our DIY bike stand. I've done the math. 90 degrees would be straight up and down, but we're tilting it just a little bit, and that tilt is 80 degrees. And so what we want to do is we want to cut a 10-degree cut on our wood, which then should relate to an 80-degree cut in the wood, angled once we make this thing. I think we'll figure it out, and then again, if we go with our length, it looks like 11.25. So 11.25. This is nerve-wracking. We're gonna make a bunch of cuts and then we're gonna try to put it together and see if it works. I don't really know, I hope it does, but I'm glad you guys are here for the journey. So let's get to cutting, let's get to drilling, and screwing, woo! Let's see if we can make ourselves one of these bad boys. If there's anything I've learned while using a table saw over the years, it's that the fence that you use to set should not be trusted. And that's what you see me doing here, is checking the measurements a couple times across the actual saw blade. With the 10-degree angle set, we are now gonna cut the legs of our DIY bike stand. You gotta make 4 of them, you gotta go slow, that way you don't screw up and cut these bad boys the wrong way. I might have done that and not shown you guys. A quick check to see how it looked like it might come together, and I could already tell that I didn't think that I had done what I wanted to do correctly, but I wanted to make sure that I found the middles of my tops and my bottoms so that I knew how the legs would need to sit. This way I could pre-drill what I wanted to drill for where the screws were gonna go to hold this bad boy together. I am doing these pilot holes, and then I go back and I create some countersinks just so the drywall screws that I'm using can sit a little bit more flush on the top and the bottom of the plywood.
This part of the process was kind of a comedy of errors for me because it was screw it together, then drill deeper pilot holes into the legs of it, and then take it out, put it back in, change the bit. If I had 2 drills, it would have made it a little bit easier. But again, this is one of those spots. If y'all have any concepts of how I could have done this to be a little bit more efficient, definitely drop those in the comments. Now it's time to learn where I went wrong. I'm not sure if it's my angles or my length, but as you can see, if I kind of line this guy up here, right on the edge where I wanted it, because I was gonna cut these little tips off, I am about 1/2 inch off, which then relates, you know, you cut that, it'll be about the same there and there. So what I'm gonna do is nip about 1/2 inch off of this. I'm gonna rip 1/2 inch off and kind of see where I get, and then check that, and we'll let you know the process. It's now 13 1/4 by 13 1/4, so I wound up cutting about 3/4 off on each side. Again, it's still square, but if anybody out there knows how I did my math wrong, what I should try to do different for that 14 by 10, I'd love to know where that could go wrong so others can be smarter in the future, but then also that way we can just do the math, make the cuts, and be a little bit more precise. Let's get this thing drilled and screwed. With the bottom, it actually seemed to make a little bit easier to get the pilot holes and the countersink holes set because of the fact that the top piece was together, so I could just kind of work from the bottom up. As you see there, using the table saw as kind of my workbench, because I have not built a workbench yet, though that is coming. Again, if you've got ideas for a workbench, I would love to hear them in the comments. But this one came together a little bit easier and it made it a little bit more fun. Now you can see me nipping off the edges, and now that I'm re-watching this, I do know where I screwed up, but I want to see if you guys know where I screwed up, so leave those in the comments. And here it is, a nice look at how this DIY bike stand is coming together, but it's really fun in the background. The fan looks like it's going extremely slow, but it's actually the shutter rate of the camera with the speed of the fan allows us to see that. So now you can see I'm showing you guys where I nipped some of the edges, and you know, I could have done a better job. I could have moved a little bit slower. So just something to work on for next time, because now that I know, we're gonna make another one. We're getting there, but we're not there yet. I've still got a couple braces to put on, but of course you did see that the bottom unfortunately didn't fit correctly. So again, if anybody can help me figure those angles out, I really want to know the better way to go about doing the measurements that I did. Leave comments. I want to get better and know what the heck I am doing. All right, so let's put some bracing on this around the bottom just so it's a tad bit stronger. Nothing too fancy here. I'm just making some measurements, and because of the way that the legs are, they're really just 45-degree angles. Got to make sure they get in there. Some of them, because of twisting of what the material that I'm using, it got a little weird, so I had to correct that a tad bit. But in the long run, pretty simple to add some bracing and making it stronger. We all know that the Seat Time brand is red and white. So we've got some spray paint here, and we're gonna spray paint this bad boy red so that it stands out in all the future videos. Especially if it breaks, it'll be really red and a caution symbol for others to maybe not build the way I did. We'll see. Not being a carpenter, I don't know the best way to stain wood, so I just wanted to go with the Seat Time brand red, so we spray painted it. You can still see some of the wood grain and some imperfections, but honestly, I kind of like that, so I'm okay with the way that it turned out. No, I didn't forget to spray paint the top. I'm actually going to put one of those little rubber cushion mats up there to kind of help the bike stay in place. So let's get this thing cut and let's get it mounted on top. With the mats cut, I'm just kind of cutting off the little corners so it fits on the top a little bit better, and then using truss screws to screw it in because I like the larger head that they have. And now we add the casters. So in the long run, just marking out where I want to put my pilot holes, drilling the pilot holes, and then coming back with the wood screws that I've got to drill these bad boys into the bottom. Pretty simple. 2 of them lock, 2 of them do not. They work like IKEA baskets, which means they're kind of a pain in the ass. All right, what do you guys think? So I built a DIY bike stand that has casters. 2 of them are locking, so I can kind of try to keep it in place. I don't know if they should all be locking or not, But in the long run, seems pretty cool. We do have to get the bike on it though, to see if it falls apart. They're still in the moto van, so I've got to unload them and get them in here. But I made this because of the fact that I'm gonna have a little bit of a smaller garage, and so I feel instead of needing to like shimmy bikes around and stuff like that, this might actually be a better way to have a bike in the garage on these and move them around sideways and all the different ways that I might need to move them around the garage. So what do you think so far? Well, once we see if it collapses or not, then we'll know if it's worth it. Anybody want to see a blooper? I'm sure it's coming. Let's get the bike on this thing. As you saw, my angles were a little off. So if you're someone who understands the math that I might have screwed up just a little bit, I'd love for you to hit the comments and tell me how I could do better next time. I've already noticed that the casters don't roll that well, so I'm actually gonna check and see if these specific 3-inch ones that I got have a weight limit. I might need to go either with some 4-inch ones or ones that potentially have a different bearing setup so they can push themselves around the garage and move a little bit easier. Overall though, I'm really happy with the way that it turned out. It's not 100% perfect. I'm not a carpenter. I'm not trying to tell you that I am. And holy crap, these rubber mats are way more expensive than you'd think they should be. What other ways should I try to organize my garage? I'm really looking to the community here to help me get this going. I don't have a lot of space to play with. I am downsizing, but I've got a lot of things that I need to organize. So if you've got dirt bike specific things like what Aaron Colton does in Garage 93, I'd love to see it. Let me know in the comments what you think we should do. If you want to support the efforts, of course, you can get a single track Mind shirt at shop.seatime.co. Other than that, enjoy getting seat time. If you didn't find this educational, hopefully it entertains you just a little bit. And we will see you for the next one. Peace.